KNUS Denver. Sleep deprived and heavily caffeinated.
All right, let's do this then.
This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
I don't agree with that.
They don't always agree, but hey, at least they have coffee.
Coffee.
And each other.
I love you, man.
God help us.
I want to bless him. We need all the help we can get.
Now here's Jeff Hunt and Bill Thorpe. The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710
It's 8 a.m. in the
KNUS.
Mile High City on this Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Coming up after news and comment with Blake Olson, we're going to talk with Rose Puglisi. She's got some more free time on her hands now. She was the top Republican in the Colorado House of Representatives, resigning recently. We're going to get the story as to why, what she thinks needs to change down at the Colorado State Capitol. We'll give you some insight you're not going to get anywhere else. Now is time for news and comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Police interviewed Robinson's roommate. Good morning. It's Wednesday, 50 and sunny in beautiful Denver, expecting a high of 71 today. Really, really nice outside. Make sure you step out there and get a walk today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, the Fed is widely expected to announce an interest rate cut today. Most analysts are leaning toward the central bank bringing down its benchmark rate for the first time since 2024. The annual Cancer Progress Report shows the overall cancer death rate has been steadily declining since the 90s. The report from the American Association for Cancer Research shows that more than 4.5 million cancer deaths were avoided between 1991 and 2023. On Tuesday, Jeffco's Sheriff's Office released details about the Evergreen shooting.
The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office says the first officers on scene arrived at the school 2.5 minutes after calls started flooding 911. In a statement, the office says the shooter unloaded about 20 shots, first inside the school, hitting the first victim, then outside after he left the school, crossed the football field, and shot a second victim. Both victims are still hospitalized. I'm Connor Shreve.
Thank you, Connor. DJT is slamming a Biden-era investigation into Turning Point USA. The president is taking aim at the investigation into the nonprofit on Truth Social, writing, quote, "They tried to force Charlie and many other people and movements out of business." Trump has previously criticized Smith and the Biden administration after they launched an election interference probe of Republican-led organizations and donors who supported the president. A week ago today, Kirk was assassinated.
Mr. Robinson, for count one, aggravated murder, a capital felony in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-5-202, in that on September 10th, 2025 in Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, intentionally or knowingly caused the death of Charlie Kirk under the following circumstances. The defendant knowingly created a great risk of death to another individual other than Charlie Kirk and the defendant. Notice conviction of this offense may carry the death penalty.
Tyler Robinson appeared in court and has been charged with the murder, of course, and the State Department is denying visas to anyone celebrating the death of Kirk. The president and vice president will speak at the memorial service Sunday in Glendale, Arizona at State Farm Stadium, and will also feature remarks from Erica, Marco Rubio, RFK Jr., and Pete Hegseth. Utah County DA read the text messages from Robinson to his transgender boyfriend sent after the assassination.
The following text exchange then took place. After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right? Robinson, I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you.
Death penalty.
Did you see the ABC guy?
You know what? I have not watched the entire thing. That one slipped by me. I've got to check it out.
Matt, I forget his last name, but
Doesn't
generally
matter.
pretty talented guy. I've watched him on 2020, all that stuff. But he comes out with this weird take where he goes, "I was surprised by the intimacy of their language." But in those text messages, yeah. In the text messages back and between the shooter and his trans lover. The ABC correspondent is talking about the intimacy, and you're just going, what a weird take, dude. Matt Gutman, I think is his name.
Matt Gutman, that's right. I got to check that out. I saw it up on this other monitor. I meant to go check it out. I'll try to get it by next hour if I could, but it was ABC, correct?
Yeah, it was
Matt
ABC Gutman. He says they were very touching remarks, and
jeez.
There's also
Dude, that's irrelevant.
There's also an element out there running around saying these aren't real. This thing's been generated. I think those text messages are 100% real because you got people that are. Look, you're not right in the head if you're going to go assassinate a political opponent, right? To begin with, and his obsession with trying to get the gun back and bouncing between these kind of remarks about how much he likes his trans lover versus and then trying to get the gun and bouncing back and forth and all that stuff. And his dad,
and his grandfather's
my grandfather gun.
Yep,
It's like all over the place. You're like, yeah, dude, there's.
His dad saw the photo of the gun, recognized the gun. It was his grandfather's gun. He wanted to make sure, he knew. Yeah. He knew right then he was busted.
We got a text message here, 5486. The text thread is straight out of a government computer. Whatever. Okay. Come on. 5486.
Don't buy that. Do not buy that. He's probably going to tell me that there wasn't a transgender, quote unquote, community in that area that didn't wear furries either. That's a deal with a lot of these people. They knew it was going to happen a day before, a bunch of them. Father Josiah Trenum on Tucker last night as they remembered Charlie, and the priest says there is some light. Young people are flocking to Jesus.
I've never seen, I've been a priest for almost 33 years. I've never seen the radical interest in faith that we're seeing right now. I'll tell you, if I use my parish just as a little example, I have maybe, I don't know, little more than 1,000 active parishioners that are here regularly. And over the years of my ministry, I've catechized, I've instructed and prepared people for baptism, maybe 20, 30, 40, a really great year would be 40 people. I have over 200 people in catechism right now. And this is happening all across the country.
Great news. The left hates hearing that. DJT and the First Lady attending a state banquet hosted by King Charles at Windsor Castle today. The visit includes a carriage procession with King Charles. The hearing with the FBI Director, Kash Patel, continues today. I'll play just a few seconds of this with Cory Booker. Goodness gracious.
That rant of false information does not bring this country together. If you want to work on bringing this country, it's my time, not yours.
My God.
If you want to talk about
dividing this country,
it is
I follow you on your social media posts that tear this country apart.
To address your falsehoods.
Oh, you can try all you want
in this country.
To not take responsibility for what you have said. Sir, you're making a mockery of this committee.
Booker. Oh, my God. That dude. All of them. I mean, he's not afraid of the FBI because he knows that he had his claws in it the last 4 years, and there's so many undercover deep state working with him. Yeah, of course he's not. He's not afraid of the FBI, even though all of us were afraid of the FBI the last 4 years. That was bad. It's going on again this morning. 49 in Aurora, 47 in Golden, 50 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
We'll be on the backside of low pressure today, so it's still going to be a little cool, unsettled, and there still will be a few showers and thunderstorms around before better weather moves in Thursday and Friday. Highs upper 60s and low 70s, a few scattered showers and thunderstorms through evening. Lows tonight upper 40s, partly cloudy and mild. Low to mid 70s Thursday, 75 to 80 Friday. Weather is a service of L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Hard news for many of us that follow politics the other day to see Rose Puglisi resigning her role as the top Republican in the Colorado House of Representatives, and of course the media running out there. It's the photo scandal is the reason she left. They didn't even read what she wrote to begin with. And to give us some perspective and some insight and to tell us what's next for her, great friend of the show, glad to still have her involved, Rose Puglisi. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to talk to you all and your listeners about the truth.
Well, let's get into it. You announced your resignation. Is it immediate? When will that take place? And then more importantly, why?
So it took place on Monday. So yes, I am no longer in the legislature. You know, it was really a culmination of a lot of different events. You know, I'm a single mom. I raised 2 kids all by myself. I have 3 jobs outside of the legislature, and I'm incredibly passionate about saving our state, right, as we all are. And so, you know, over the last, I would say, probably a couple of months, I've been really trying to figure out if this was the right path for me, and especially for my kids. And so, you know, it was a rough special session, not just the photo incident, but there was actually, and I talked about this on the House floor, there was on that Sunday, I believe, one of my children had called because somebody was banging at the door, and I had left early in the morning, and somebody was coming to hang out with them for the rest of the day, but hadn't gotten there yet. And my cousin lives down the block, but they were crying and upset and scared, and I was on the phone with them. And, you know, CSP was amazing. They made sure somebody came out. My cousin was there in just a few minutes. But in that time that I was on the phone with them, and they were upset and they were scared, and I was far away. And, you know, the special session was rough in a lot of different ways, especially because Republicans were completely discounted in the process. And so, you know, all of that and, you know, the last day and how the Democrats lied and questioned my character and integrity, which I think is just wrong. And then, you know, this last week was really rough. And it was rough on my kids as well. You know, they watch the news and they see what's happening. And, you know, I think at that point, it really was just taking some time to think about what is best for my children. How do I keep them safe? How do I spend more time with them? And really, it came to the point where I said, you know what, I think I need to take this step. I've been in church a lot and prayed. I'm incredibly faithful. And I think, you know, I left the House in a much better place than I found it. I broke the supermajority, broke fundraising levels. And I think the House still has a lot of great opportunity. But maybe it's time for me to take a different path. And I think God's maybe open other other ideas for me. So I'm not out of the fight, though. I want people to know that. I'm not giving up on the fight. The fight is still real. We have got to save our Colorado for our children. But I think there's other ways to fight that might be more productive and give me the time I need with my children.
And I think that's important for people to understand, because for many of us that are involved in this cause, it's a calling from God. It's the way we're wired. Believe me, I would much rather live a quieter life. But for whatever reason, the Lord's like, go debate tax policy and do it on the radio with your co-host for the whole city to hear. And I'm like, all right, well, that's what we'll do. So you get this calling to engage in the debate. Serving as a representative in the State House is one aspect of that. So I'm so glad to hear, Rose, that you're still going to be involved and find other avenues to do so. But it's hard. I mean, I talked to my friend Brandy Bradley about this, what she faces, the constant threats, the working a job. Just imagine this, working a job where a majority of your colleagues don't want you there, have all the power to be able to shut you down, and your job is really only to try to raise awareness to the stupidity of all of the decisions that they're making. Could you imagine working in a job like that? You'd hate it. And so I understand why people go out. Being a member of the state legislature is difficult right now. Give people insight into what just like day-to-day life is like when you're part of a minority like Republicans down at the Colorado State House, what you have to deal with, what you deal with from the other side, and then just having colleagues that have all this power to do whatever they want, and they're not necessarily the nicest people.
You know, it's really interesting. I was talking to some people about this. You know, when I was growing up in politics, right, when I was a county commissioner involved in legislation, it used to be where legislators strive to be statesmen, right? You wanted to leave your legacy as someone saying that you were a statesman, that you really cared about the policy and the people, and you did the right thing. Now it is more about being social media famous. And I think for me, just honesty and integrity means so much to me. And I think what I'm really disappointed about is, you know, the Democrats, and it's really interesting, you know, when they put forward these this misinformation or just straight up lies, and then they get caught in those lies, they just double down on the lie. And I think for me, like, especially as a very faithful person, I think that has been really a struggle for me. But, you know, we have been censored. We've had a list of words where we can't say certain things in the well. We have been shut down. You know, we're in the minority. And they always say, and, you know, Steve Woodrow said this on your show when we were at IHOP, right? The majority gets their way, but the minority gets their say. And I agree, but we get our say until the Democrats are tired of hearing from us, and then they shut us down. And that's just not the way that policy should be made. And this special session was incredibly frustrating because Republicans have ideas too. And instead of being brought in and brought to the table, we were completely shut out. We were shut down. And so you have to really consider, you know, that day that I was just telling you about with my children, I sat there on the floor and said, what am I doing here? You know, my kids are afraid at home. I'm far away. And the Democrats don't want to hear what I think anyway. And I really, really, really want to represent my people, and I want to do a good job. But, you know, it's really hard to do it when your hands are tied. And I feel like the decorum in the chamber, the lack of respect for just us as human beings, I think is really difficult to fathom. Now, all of that to say, I'm glad that there's a few people who are looking at potentially replacing me. The fight is still the right one. We need good people in the legislature. We need people and to represent the voices. But it is definitely a challenge. And what we really need to do is restore balance in Colorado. And I'm completely committed to restoring balance, especially in the House and Senate.
That's Rose Puglisi. Up until this week, she was the top Republican in the Colorado House of Representatives, serving as the House Minority Leader. Let's talk about that role. Prior to you, Patrick Neville, a little bit of a different leadership flavor. Let's talk about what you think is necessary for that role? You've watched it. You've led it. I think you did a fantastic job, Rose. So what's important there in that position?
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I think there's two challenges, and it doesn't matter if it was Patrick or Hugh or Mike Lynch. There were a few leaders before me, but unifying the caucus, I think, is definitely sometimes a challenge. We all represent our constituencies differently. And I think it's really important that we recognize that all of our constituencies are different. And so I think, it's always a challenge. I think I'm incredibly proud of my caucus. They have always come together. And while we didn't always agree all of the time, we were able to have those conversations and then go out on the House floor and fight for the policies that we believed in. And so I'm so incredibly proud of them. And then fundraising, I was able to break fundraising numbers with all of our allied partners. And, people had faith in my vision, and I am so incredibly grateful for that. But the vision's still the same, whether I'm at the helm or not. And so we need to make sure that people are investing in the House. We need to keep our 3 seats. Hopefully we gain back a few more and start marching to the majority. And so the next leader will have definitely a challenge. But I think I believe I have laid a good foundation for them to continue to build our caucus up.
That's Rose Puglisi, formerly House Minority Leader. We are mourning just like you that she is stepping down, but she says the fight is not over. She's taking time and choosing a different path. She's outlining that with us. Now, Rose, what I've got to ask you is, with your time in the legislature, what has been one or two things that you are most proud of? What are those things looking back on the legislature? You talked about the idea of you went and you fought and it's no longer a supermajority, but I'm talking about some individual moments or achievements. It could be something big based on legislative action, or it could be something small, just the idea of going to one of those liberals and getting them to go, you got a good point there. What are those things you're going to take away as you leave our state legislature that you're going to hang on to as those good memories?
As I've been reminiscing with people about some of my bills, a majority of the bills that I've passed, actually almost every bill I passed, except for one, was bipartisan, and one was an all-Republican bill, which we don't really talk about, but it was a really good bill around property tax. But I think for me, the shining moment for not just me, but for all of us in Colorado was when Senator Kirkmeyer and I led the fight against Proposition HH, and that we were able to mobilize our grassroots and really get to the people and defeat the Democrats and all of their money and the governor. And 60-40, not just like a defeat, but a resounding defeat. And I really feel like that was kind of the changing moment where people became hopeful again. And so I attribute some of the successes in the House to the fact that people had hope. They saw the vision, and they want to change Colorado. And so Proposition HH, that was really a really good step. And then what happened next was a special session on property tax that was bipartisan, where we were actually able to lower property taxes, Republicans and Democrats together. And so for me, I'm incredibly proud of that work. It was a long journey, but I'm incredibly proud of that. And then I would say, not everyone in my caucus agrees with me all of the time, and I appreciate that. But every single time I have needed them, they have stood there in the well with me. They have fought for me and alongside of me. And despite all of our disagreements, I want them all to know that I feel an incredible amount of respect for every single one of them and how they lead in our caucus. And I'm really, truly going to miss them.
What I think you did well, as someone who's naturally a coalitions person, a lot of my political work has been in coalition development, is allowing people to represent their constituents well. So, like, the people that elect Brandy Bradley, Scott Bottoms, they love the fighters. Man, get down there and fight, fight, fight. Other people elect lawmakers that are more maybe towards the middle, more not necessarily as outspoken. And you gave a place for all of them to be able to have their voice from my perspective, and I appreciate that. Rose Puglisi, who do you think should be the next House Minority Leader? Have you endorsed anybody, and who's in the running?
So I am not in the caucus anymore, and so I've told people I don't have a vote. I think that there's probably other people, maybe the assistant minority leader who's now the acting minority leader, Ty Winter, who could probably talk more about what's going on in the caucus right now. I'm really just focused on kind of looking at my next path and getting ready for that and spending more time with my kids.
You know them, Rose. You got to meet all of them. Is there one that you think has the skill set? Or you just don't want to say?
I am not endorsing anybody, but I think everyone in the caucus has the ability to lead. For me, really, truly, it's the fundraising part, being able to get people to buy into the vision. I think that's really important because we need the grassroots and we need money. And so I just hope whoever the next minority leader is able to sell that vision and raise the money that we need to be successful.
So Rose Puglisi, got to get your name right there. Sorry about that. Formerly the House Minority Leader, now stepping down as of Monday, joining Jeff and Bill live. Okay, so not picking a favorite, but they're all listening. The people that may fill your very big shoes. I mean that not literally, but figuratively. Now, what I'm asking is, what advice do you have to the person that is going to follow you? What do you want to tell them about the job and maybe some of the pitfalls?
Yeah, for me, I think the most important part is interacting with the people. I talk about this all the time. I was so blessed as minority leader because it gave me the opportunity to travel the state and talk to people, knock doors, like people who don't show up at a town hall at 9 a.m. on a Saturday. And so I think, continuing to engage with the constituency is so important because you can't actually represent, and everyone's got different ideas, but you can't really represent unless you know what the people are thinking, and you need to be amongst the people. And I'm glad for the work that I've done to be able to do that. So I would definitely say that. And I know, we talk about this all the time, and I'll get beat up by some of my friends on the right, but I actually really, truly believe that bipartisan legislation is the right path. And the reason that I say that and developing those relationships are so important is because, we have seen our state, right? I believe that the middle, and it's not about compromising your principles or your values. I never feel like I compromised any of my principles or my values. I just think, we all know what the issues are. We have different ways of getting there. And if we can take a little bit of each side and put it together, I really, truly believe that is the best legislation for Colorado. That's why my bills have been bipartisan. And some of the bills that I loved that were repeal bills that I would have loved to have seen, go through were killed in committee. At least we were able to have those conversations. But, some of the legislation I was able to work on, my right to try for individualized treatment that just passed this legislative session will literally save lives. Terminal children and patients will have access to drugs that they wouldn't have had before. That's like real impactful legislation. And I'm proud of the work that I've done, and I'm proud that it was bipartisan.
It's Rose Puglisi, formerly the House Minority Leader. That was the top Republican in the Colorado House of Representatives, resigning and listing one of the major reasons to just make sure she's at home with her daughters during these formidable years. And I hope everybody understands this is really important. When you get the political leaders of the state off the stage, maybe hanging out, having a beer, talking about life, conversation often goes to family. How's your spouse? How are the kids? How's everybody doing? Because the demands on the job are incredible. And there's a general line of thinking, particularly in my circles, that there is not a single political office out there that's worth sacrificing your family for. It'll never be worth it. Always make sure you're putting their needs ahead of yours, even if that means you take a lower office for a while. I think my wife's incredibly talented. I think she could be the president of the United States. She's hanging out as a planning commissioner. She's running for school board right now because that allows her to serve her community while being at home and raising kids. And so for Rose Puglisi to prioritize her family, always going to get a tip of the hat from me. Very excited to see what the next chapter holds for you. You were a wonderful friend, giving us insight on what was happening down at the Colorado State Capitol during your tenure, and we'll look forward to continuing to work with you. Rose Puglisi, thank you for your time this morning.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeff and Bill, and thanks to all of your listeners and the good people of House District 14 who gave me this opportunity. Thank you.
All right, we'll continue. If you're looking for a good place to eat, how about Black Eyed Pea of Colorado, locally owned and operated by Stephen Michelle. I absolutely love this restaurant. My entire family does. It's home-style cooking at its best, 8 locations. There's sure to be one near you. Bottom line, you want to take the family out to eat at the Black Eyed Pea. Go online at blackeyedpeacolorado.com. Check out their featured menu that they run throughout the different seasons in Colorado. They have special barbecue, burger menus. They've got potato menus and more. They've built a reputation in Colorado for the best home-cooked meal away from home. They do catering as well. If it's a dinner party, rehearsal dinner, wedding reception, or company event, make it a success with Black Eyed Pea Catering. And no matter what the occasion, Black Eyed Pea gift cards are always great. For your special someone, birthday favors, or holiday presents, they have you covered. I love everything about this restaurant. I know you will too. Support local. Keep it in Colorado. Make it Maha and visit the Black Eyed Pea near you. All right, phone lines open, text lines open. Who would you like to see as the new leader of the Republicans down at the Colorado House? Some great ones up there. We'll talk about who's running, who you'd like to see. Feel free to give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us at 720-819-5115. Would you like to see Ty Winter? Would you like to see Ken DeGraff? How about Brandy Bradley? Scott Bottoms is running for governor. Who would you like to see lead those wonderful Patriots, the Colorado House Republicans? You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's talk leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Wrapping up a great conversation with, I almost said Hugh McKean because that was next in my mind. Rose Puglisi. Hugh McKean's no longer with us. Rose Puglisi was the Colorado House of Representatives House Minority Leader. She was the top Republican down there. And she follows people like Mike Lynch, Hugh McKean, great guys. Patrick Neville, great guy as well. Different flavors of leadership. Patrick, conservative, unite, and we're going to charge. Others looking at, how you allow different communities to send their representatives up and reflect their communities and then work together. So kind of more coalition builders. Bill, Colorado Republicans in the House of Representatives down there, small minority. Not a super minority, but a small minority. And you know many of them. Brandy Bradley, Ken DeGraff, Ty Winter, Ryan Armagost. We all had him on our show regularly, among others. So you look at what Republicans have to do to try to stop things happening down there, maybe turn things around, get some more seats. What would you like to see as a leader? You're an independent, Bill. You're a classic Colorado independent. What would you like to see the Colorado House of Republicans look like?
Well, they're not going to like it at all, and they don't listen to me anyway, which is probably a good idea. I think that Brandy Bradley hit it on the head when she was looking for someone, or was talking about the idea of bipartisanism. I don't think that given the small number of members that Republicans have right now, grandstanding or trying to stop things or gumming up the works is always going to be the best option. There are times they're going to have to, but because of their numbers, they are limited. I think their best path forward is to find some of those more conservative Democrats. And again, it is a continuum. It's based on, there are some that are going to be very far left, and there are some that aren't as far left as the others. Those are the people you're targeting, and you're trying to create that bipartisan support. When Rose Puglisi had success with the right to try legislation, that's the type of thing that I would be looking for. And you have to, unfortunately, know the lay of the landscape. And Jeff, you've talked about the idea that there are some legislators that have a cause when they come into office. And it might be very smart for Republicans to target some of those cause liberal Democrats and try to get them to go together and to work together on certain types of bills and legislation. And also the idea of allowing the Democrats and giving them space to correct mistakes. And that being, earlier in the morning, we had Jeff Crank, who is part of a 3-person letter along with Boebert and along with Evans that they sent to Colorado Governor Jared Polis about some problems in our legislature that have ended up getting some criminals who should be facing charges. Instead, they're enjoying their freedom rather than going through the court process for a variety of number of reasons. Now, the Republicans can allow the Democrats some cover to fix that by coming in and saying, listen, we know behind the scenes this is not working out here, but this is not going to be necessarily a Democrat bill that's going to be run this way. We can run it with you and give you cover that we are all working together to solve this problem that we all see. Yeah. Does it make you throw up in your mouth a little bit if you're a Republican? Yeah. But does it get you closer to where you want to be? I think it does. That's going to be the difficulty. Is the problem and the difficulty I see with the Colorado Republicans right now is if you try to get something done through the legislature based on any sort of bipartisanship, there's a large majority of the Republican voters in Colorado that'll call you a rhino and try to throw you out of the party. And so that, I think, is the problem. I think that's it, that there's so many that are looking for, just stop them from doing everything. They would love to see the Republicans, get up and do what the other Democrats did down in Texas, just leave the state for a while and try to stop the legislature from functioning. Yeah.
So have you ever seen the movie Encino Man?
Yes.
Okay.
I have.
Do you remember the end of the movie where they're in the dance and the
God, you're going way back. Let me think here.
Okay. So there's a bully, and he's not nice, and he's kind of mean to everybody in the movie, and he discovers that Brendan Fraser is a caveman.
Yeah.
And he goes up in front of everybody. He goes up in front of everybody and goes, "They're a caveman. That guy right there, he's a caveman," thinking that the audience is going to go, and they all go, "Yay!"
Yeah, they all cheer.
They cheer him on and all that stuff, okay? So here's where I'm torn. This is a serious, this is where I go, gosh, what did we do? Okay, because for years, I figured if we just exposed the craziness, the lunacy of the Democrats down at the Colorado State House, that the people would go, well, of course, we got to throw them out. Okay? I can tell you, as somebody who's been doing this now for years, I feel like that bully in the movie at the end, where I'm like, do you know they just released a bunch of criminals? They spent hundreds of millions of dollars on illegal immigrants. They're broke. They just enshrined abortion into the Constitution. They're making taxpayers pay for it. I feel like that guy where I'm pointing at all of it with the expectation that the crowd's going to go, boo, boo, what? These people are crazy. And instead, what I get from voters is like, yeah, more criminals on the street. Yeah. Oh, Denver's out of money. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, so I would love for Republicans to go down there, go to the well, fight these guys, take it to them. But the voters, to me right now, I'm just stuck with the voters of Colorado because I actually go talk to them. I go down to the Bernie Sanders rallies with 30,000 people. 30,000 people. Okay? They're not going to look at a Republican that's fighting in the well, pointing out the stupidity of the Democrats and go, well, I'm ready to change and become a Republican. They're just, I don't know. I've lost faith in the Colorado voter at this point. So how Republicans get it back, I don't know. I'm not sure you could go down there and fight, and that's going to turn the Colorado voters. I'm pretty sure if you just didn't do anything, never showed up to the job, they wouldn't even pay attention either. They are set with Democrat policies. They love the Democrat policies. Their lives suck. We see that in the poll, and they still vote in Democrat policies. So I don't think they're rational to begin with. And God love them. God love those Republicans that are willing to go down there like Rose Puglisi and Brandy Bradley and Scott Bottoms and Ken DeGraff and Ty Winter and the rest of them and just deal with this lunacy, because no matter what you do, the voters of Colorado are like, we're going to keep putting in the idiots.
Yeah, I view it more from the idea of that, because you see them cheering some of the bad decisions the Democrats make, and I'm not convinced they're necessarily cheering the bad decisions, but what they're saying is, even with the bad decisions made by the Democrats, the Republicans aren't talking to me. And what I mean by that, you're not understanding where the voter is, and you're not willing to meet them there. And I think one of the examples is what you talked about, the idea of enshrining abortion into the Constitution and having taxpayers pay for it. Yeah, I think you could probably get a lot of Colorado voters, I don't know if it's a majority or not, I don't have the numbers, to say, yeah, we probably shouldn't be funding taxpayer abortions. However, in a climate in which the idea of abortion was being floated as possibly being illegal based on a federal law, given where the Colorado voter is, they're going to want to protect the abortion rule. Now, the tax thing is something that the Democrats were able to slide in there to get something they wanted, in my opinion. But when the voter was telling the Republicans, your alternative of no doesn't work for us. And so my suggestion is that if Republicans wanted to, you got to get closer. You may have to plug your nose. You may not like it at all, but you have to prove to the voter that you're more reasonable where they are, and you have some other better ideas and solutions.
Bill, you're too reasonable.
Yeah, that's my problem.
Look at the poll. They love AOC. That's
Yeah, they
where
do.
that's where Coloradans are going. Now, the only hope I have here is Joan from Lakewood texting in saying, "Wait and see. Watch the CSU rally. Maybe the assassination of Charlie Kirk will turn things around." But I go and talk to these people. If they were rational to begin with, they'd be conservatives. I feel like I'm in the movie Idiocracy sometimes, wandering around these protests going, there's no hope. I can't reason my way out of this. I can't moderate my way out of this. I am stuck living next to dopey people who think Bernie Sanders and AOC are the result. They watch the state fall apart. They complain about it. And then they think the solution is to double down on the direction that we're heading. So, yeah, I don't have a lot of hope. Prove me wrong. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law Text line at 720-819-5115. Let's talk advanced hair restoration. For many of us, it's happening. Your hair's thinning. Your crowns might be disappearing. Maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity's lost altogether. Well, I got good news for you. It's an incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day, and it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's the Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. We've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have, but what if what you want is your own natural hair permanently in specific areas? From Advanced Hair state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Pauls, it's not maybe your hair will regrow. It's guaranteed that your new hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR, 720-459-HAIR, or advancedhair.com, advancedhair.com. Text messages in 1514. Compromise is a four-letter word in politics these days, Bill.
Yeah, it is, and that's where we part of lost our way, in my opinion, because if you go back to how our founding fathers set up the legislature, it's built on compromise. That's why we have a bicameral legislature. That's why one is balanced equally based on number of states and the other one is balanced based on population and representation, because between the two houses there was supposed to be a way to come to a meeting between both sides of political parties. I mean, you had to realize that the country was founded on people fleeing a lot of personal and political persecution and religious persecution. They wanted to find a way to blend it together and to work together because they saw what happened over and over again when one group gets to say, I'm in charge, I get to make the rules, suck eggs. And that's what they were trying to set up, a way that created boundaries and guardrails that forced people of different ideologies to work together to get to the best solutions. And I still am of the opinion that when you force the two sides to come together because they have to carve off all the extraneous idiocy, you normally end up with something that is at least palatable to the majority of the voters in the population. But we have decided, as the texters pointed out, that it's a four-letter word. The idea of working together, cooperation, or bipartisanship is now an insult. How many times have we seen lawmakers be pilloried by their own party for having the temerity of even talking to the other side? Yeah, and then we're surprised why things don't work, because we are putting up roadblocks and preventing the way that our government was supposed to function from even functioning in the first place. Surprise!
Give us a call. Join the conversation. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Jeff and Bill Show. Text messages are hot here. Tony's saying maybe I shouldn't insult Colorado voters by saying their votes are ridiculous. How about asking yourself why they won't even listen to Republicans? Maybe the fact that Rose Puglisi didn't have the cojones to call out that despicable member of her caucus that shared the picture and made those revolting comments. That's a huge problem. You Republicans don't seem to get. You won't call out misbehavior on your own members out of fear of losing a seat, or voters of all persuasions hate that. Well, Mr. Tony, here's my response to you. You are a perfect example. Proving my point wrong. You are so concerned about a picture that Ryan Armagost took that ended up on a private chat with other Republicans. Was it right? No. Was it appropriate? No. But the state is crumbling. You have crime, spending out of control. No one can afford to live in here. Republicans all want to raise the taxes, and you're out, Tony. You're out is that Ryan Armagost took a picture and posted it on a private chat. I don't know how you reason with people like Tony. You're just set against Republicans, Tony. It doesn't matter. This state is falling apart by every metric. Nobody wants to live here anymore. People are leaving here. We're broke at the state. We're broke in the city. Businesses can't stay open. And your response is, I'm not going to vote for you because someone took a picture. I don't know, Tony. I don't know.
I
don't know how I reason.
From where I sit, there are some things on Democrat sides of the aisle that should have been spoken about by Democrats, and that would be some of the behavior of Elizabeth Epps during the debate forums, and some of the behavior inside and outside the legislature of Timothy Hernandez. So, yeah, I think that just pointing at what happened with Ryan Armagost is a little myopic, personally.
All right, we'll continue the conversation. Plus, we're going to talk with the South Metro Denver Chamber coming up. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is 710 KNUS.